So a few days back, a former Blizzard developer revealed that before the monks came, Tinkers were actually heavily developed within Blizzard and fleshed out and were supposed to be a new class, but that never came to be. Fast forward 10-15 years, Blizzard releases a massive, not so public, kinda under the radar survey asking people which new classes they would want to see in the saga, from necromancers to battle mages to, most importantly, Tinkers. They describe these Tinkers as genius inventors discovering Titan magic. Now, in the saga, in the last Titan, we are obviously going to a large Northrend where we will discover the secret mechanism the Titans hid there personally, and this would be the perfect way to finally introduce this new class. With Titan technology in mind, these would not be the goblin gnome mech suit guys just using turrets. This could be a whole new different class, unlike any we had ever seen before, with complete unique abilities and appearance. So what is everything we currently know about the Tinkers? The messiest Ring is coming, but do you know, you can ask him yourself about his plans and what's going on with Xel'Tath with Polybuzz, the best chat app out there. You can literally write a whole wiki page on your favorite lore figure character with a complete backstory. You can create the voices, the images, and then you can have conversations with them or even your own WoW character whenever you want from your phone. You can try it out completely free with my link in the description and use code Dorons1. Check out Polybuzz. Tinkers have been a new class we had discussed for a really long time within the community, and it's not one of those classes where this could be a cool concept. This is a class that actually exists within the lore. It was available to play as back in Warcraft 3, so even before WoW was released, and it had a lot of not just lore, but overall legitimacy to it. The community has been speculating about it for a while now, predicting it, but we just learned that Blizzard actually designed this, fleshed it out, was about to go ahead with it until they switched in the last moment, which is kinda parallel to the Necromancer that was supposed to be out instead of the Death Knights, combined with the potential Rune Master back in Wrath. However, it doesn't seem like this is the end of it, and there is actually a way to still introduce this class. There is actually a very high probability, even in the World Soul Saga itself. In fact, very likely in the World Soul Saga. Now, I don't know if you remember this news, I made a video on this about a half a year back when there was a not so public survey coming in from Blizzard asking people which classes they would like to see next in the saga itself, and they actually outlined way more than anyone had expected. It seemed like they were testing the waters for some new big features. They first showed us the ones they had strongly considered and some not so fleshed out, but this included everything from a witch doctor to a necromancer to a battle mage to a warder. There was even a Sargeras base class outlined, which would make sense with his return in the last Titan. Now, within these very probable classes, they have outlined a Tinker, and without yapping myself about what I think a Tinker could potentially be, we actually have the description they had provided. They call them genius inventors who had uncovered the secrets of Titan technology and are using it to protect their allies. They can heal wounds and attack enemies as well. Through their understanding of machines, Tinkers can create inventions, custom-made skills and spells. They can control and wear mech suits, and they can, most importantly, deploy mechanical constructs to create an advantage in combat. This is pretty much the Tinkers that we had known them as, and realistically, this is unlike any other class that is currently in the game or that we had previously seen. It is very unique. In a way, this is kind of how Goblin Shamans work from the lore perspective, and as I said, this class is not really a new concept. The only new concept is the playable part. Tinkers or Tinkologists actually exist currently in the game for both the goblins, gnomes, and the dwarves, and some notable characters are Gelbin Mechatork, that is known as the High Tinker of the gnomes. If you remember these neutral guys from Warcraft 3, you can actually play with a Tinker. They had some crazy abilities like the Pocket Factory, where they created clockwork goblins that would explode at the enemies. They could also fire rockets and transform into robo-goblins. In World of Warcraft, they were very well represented with their mech suits. We could kind of see them in various expansions. So the point is, they're super well established, but the brand new information from just a couple days back comes from Chris Kalecki, that was one of the original WoW designers, and with Mists of Pandaria Classic just released, he talked about the times when he worked on the actual expansion and how he designed the monk class. Other than some interesting details, he starts with saying that he didn't start out with the monks. In the early stages, the pre-production of Mists of Pandaria, he was tasked with with creating the Tinker, and he had a whole design and everything for them. It wasn't just a vague idea on a whiteboard like this could be one of the 12 new classes. Ultimately, he was asked to do the Monk instead, and then he designed that ended up being pretty successful. But it goes to show that Blizzard had something entirely different in mind for this expansion. You can see that later with Cataclysm. They introduced the goblins as playable, they had heavy goblin focus in the entire expansion, and Blizzard actually told us about a lot of goblin content that was scrapped early on in development, even back in Classic. Now, with this expansion, we had speculated that we would very likely get the Tinkers with the release of Undermine. There was a potential possibility here. Realistically, it was the best opportunity we had, as we pretty much discovered the capital of the goblins, their technology, these cars. There were a lot of things going wrong here that kinda didn't end up making the Tinkers a possibility. First is that realistically this was 11.1, so this was mid-expansion, and it's not often that Blizzard does major features like this in the middle of the expansions. They did release, for example, the new Directive specs, but not really such a drastically different new class. Second, let's be honest here for a second, let's be real, the War Within is just kinda all over the place when you look at it from this perspective. It's such a strange expansion looking at it from like nearly the end of it, as we're getting the midnight announcement in a bit, and we are kinda going from left to right to center. It's kinda all over the place. It's definitely the case that the saga was never really planned out, and they kinda combined like 3 expansions into one, and Undermine was never supposed to be a thing, and Karesh was probably supposed to be the finale of the Void Invasion, so pretty much everything changed, and they just kinda added this to this and that to that. Seeing that they kinda threw Undermine in, which really doesn't fit with the overarching storyline, it's definitely the case that they didn't have the time to bring in a brand new class that would kind of mess everything up. I mean, let's be real, new classes are a huge deal in terms of balancing out the PvP and the PvE, and it's not really a feature like adding a new hat or a new shield. Now, the good news, on the other hand, is that the Tinker class is actually the most likely new class we have for the saga. I'm almost certain it won't happen in beta just because of the teams that we know will be announced this expansion, as we kinda have a lot of predictions already in 11.2 because we know kinda how the story unravels, but you might get a new class, and it is still possible, and we'll know for certain in just a few weeks, but it probably won't be the Tinkers. However, the last Titan is the perfect opportunity to finally introduce these guys. Keep in mind, this description they wrote in the survey, they didn't say these were the Goblin Tinkerers or some gnomish engineers like we would discover in Undermine. They specifically wrote that these were genius inventors who could uncover the secrets of Titan technology and are using it to protect their allies and to attack their enemies. Well, guess where we're going in the last Titan? Guess what technology we are going to uncover there? Northrend is going to be enlarged, the Titans themselves personally are actually coming to Azeroth, and I'm like 99% certain we're going to uncover some new hidden facilities in Northrend under Ulduar or under the Icecrown Citadel, and it's going to be more than just a new like Titan Keeper chamber. We are very likely going to discover Mimiron's technology and what was really going on, how he created the Mechanomes. We currently have the Mechanomes, although they're not really the original Mechanomes from Northrend, as remember, the Mechanomes, the Northrend ones we had seen, are actually the ancestors to the current gnomes. They're kind of what the Earthen are to the current dwarves. As we already have the race in the game from a different source, this won't really be a new race. I'm not expecting them to add like Mechanomes 0.2, but a class is very possible. Coolest thing about this is if it's written as new type technology, it's not really race specific. This could be a class for all the races we currently have in the game, as everyone can become engineers. If we can uncover the Tinkers as these guys that Undermine, then maybe it could be confined for the goblins, but if we all discover it, this could be a big possibility to add it to all the currently available races. Tinkers are actually a very popular request within the community, but most importantly, lore aside and storyline and everything, I think this would be a very fun addition to the game, a very fun class to play. It will be more an experimental one, but one that is so drastically different from the other ones we currently have in the game, like the mech druids. For example, druids with their various forms are very much different from the melee and the spellcasting classes, and this will be like a new mech ones, but the best of all, it's coming from Northrend, so it could be entirely different, like unlike anything we could previously imagine. This wouldn't be the goblin or the gnome race specific class most people expect, but a Titan based one based on new technology, and Blizzard would really have their hands open here to design it in whatever way they wish, with not just expected mech suits and turrets, but who knows what else they could really introduce to make a really unique class. Thanks for watching. Check out what the Tyraels used to look like before their current forms by clicking on the screen, and check out my Roman Empire video I recorded live on site in Malta by clicking on the screen as well. See you next time!